Hi, I'm Rob. It's garage time. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, and here we are at part 2 of the engine and transmission installation. What we're doing right now is we're taking a look at the original XJ6 engine mount and the position of the new cross member that's going to go in. As you can see, it's a little loose. Here's the original cross member that I designed in. When I initially put the engine in, the engine mount was directly over this. Once I put the drive shaft in and realized I could just use that secondary half of the original XJ6 drive shaft without modifying it, being able to use that drive shaft means that the engine mount has been pushed forward approximately 3 inches, 2.5 to 3 inches from here to here. And so what I need to do is add some structure here to so that I can build the engine mounts to attach to this. And so what I'm going to do, excuse me, I'm going to affect that by the simple expedient of welding in this fantastic 2x3x120 wall rectangular tube, welded to these tubes here, and then it's going to get welded all the way along the length of the original cross member on the top edge and on the bottom edge down there. There are some welds that I need to grind down and not only just rub the paint off for welding, but there are some welds I need to flatten out so that that new piece of rectangular tubing will mate flush up against the designed-in cross member, and then also sit square in the corners of the forward tubes as well. So right now I'm ready to pull that engine out, so I'm going to show you a magic trick. Paramira Devoy! Okay, so this is the first time I've taken it out after putting it in. I bet that I will have to put it in and take it out 5 times before it's in for good and ready to start up. 5 times. $5 bet. Who's in? No, I take that back. Because it might be 4, it might be 6, it might be 10. I don't know. As you can now see, the new cross member is clamped in place with all of my most heavy clamps. I beveled the ends to 8 degrees to match the angle of the chassis tube. The new cross member is ready for welding. Let's fire up the welder and make some sparks fly. Pretty good. So those welds look pretty good. I'm not too upset about them. There's a couple that are kind of blobby and hideous, but good thing they're on the bottom and nobody can see them. So now I'm ready to move on to the next phase of the project, which is putting the engine and transmission back together with some finishing touches that I didn't do on the first pass when I was just placing it in there, and then build the engine mounts, and that's super exciting. So next phase. Yeah, remember when I thought that 20 degrees was hardship conditions? It's a little colder than that today. Let's go fire up the jet engine heater and give that garage a warming. So we're out here in the garage. As you've seen, it is really blisteringly cold outside. And I've had the heater running in the garage for about, I want to say, an hour. And so it's not terrible out here. You can still see my breath, so it's, I don't know, it might be it might be 40 degrees in here, even though it's like 9 degrees outside. But anyway, I have to torque all these fasteners, and you can see that I've taken the flex plate off because I want to clean out the threads, stick some blue Loctite in there, and then torque those to spec as well. So the first thing that I got to do is pull these bolts out. And clean out the threads. Apply some blue Loctite. And torque them into place. There we go. Cool. All right, so the adapter plate is mounted in its final configuration. Right on. So the first thing that we got to put in, where did I do with it? Oh, here it is. This right here is a locating dowel that went through the stock Jaguar flex plate into the crankshaft flange. And here on the John's adapter, there are two holes where these things go. One is right here. And here is the other dowel, which we're going to tap into the hole. There. Now the thing is, this thing is a bit of an interference fit. Flush-ish. Okay, so now you go on here, like so. There we go. Looks good. The star lock washers. I know, why am I using both lock washers and blue Loctite? Because this is the flex plate attachment. I do not want it to come undone. We're just going to gently roll these in. Borg Warner BW66. Flywheel, 7/16, 63.4 to 66. So if we set this thing to 65 foot-pounds, we are golden. 65. So I pronounced that flex plate on there. Let's plug this transmission back onto the engine as best we can. Yeah. Both dowels are on. Nice. There we go. Cool. Time for the magic trick. Paramira de Voy. The engine is back in the chassis. So we're out here, and because we magically floated the engine back into the chassis, abracadabra, poof. What I'm doing is today I'm going to figure out how to fabricate the engine mounts that will bolt the engine into the chassis. Right here, I'm going to look down here. I want to show you carefully. Right here, this right here is the stock XJ6 engine mount, bolted to the engine, obviously. Let's come down here so you can see it in a little better view. As you can see, there are, well, it's a little hard to see, I think. There are 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and then let's come around here like so, and you can see that the base plate on this mount is angled. And in the stock configuration, this would have mounted to a big rubber isolator and then a bracket that attached to the engine cross member in the XJ6. In fact, let's come over here and I'll show you those pieces. So you would have this chassis bracket, the engine isolator goes into the chassis bracket, and then the motor mount attaches to the chassis bracket like so. This isolator is old and beat, and in fact is softer than I want the engine mount to be. So rather than using this XJ6 engine mounting system, these are Series 1 Jaguar XKE engine mounts. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these XJ6 engine mounts, I'm going to cut these welds right here, one there and one there, heat this edge, bend this to a 90-degree angle, like so, and then add some plates to weld it. These guys will then mount like so. There's that. There we go. Robb's calibrated eyeball says TLAR. Pick it up with the hot stuff glove. Put it on the cold concrete floor. Rinse, repeat for number 2. Just so that everybody knows, that everybody watching this channel understands, I am a craftsman. It says so on my tools. Okay, so we went over to the scrap pile and we got a piece of scrap tubing wall, that is, that was actually used for the transmission mount. What we've done is we've sketched out a shape that is going to go right about here. All right, so welding. Yeah, there we go. Melty goodness. There it is. See? Looks pretty good. Down you go. More welding. Well, there it is right there. The product of today's efforts, the modified Jaguar XJ6 engine mount with the Series 1 XKE engine isolator attached to the bottom. All I have to do now is figure out the attachment from the new engine crossmember to the isolator, and that shouldn't be too bad. But that's for tomorrow because, as you can see behind me, it's pretty dark outside. It's time to head in and have some dinner. Cool. So yeah, a productive day. And another afternoon or two, and this engine's going to be bolted right into the chassis. Yeah, good times. So a week ago, you saw that it was 3 degrees on my dashboard thermometer, and I had the heater blasting because it was frickin' freezing out, and I needed to get, in order to get the garage up to a workable 40 degrees or so. A week later, it's 60 degrees. And the likelihood is very high that I'm going to take that thing for a ride today. Maybe both of them, because it's beautiful out. But, be that as it may, as I backlight myself with that beautiful sun, what we're doing today is we're creating the attachment for the XKE engine isolator to the crossmember on the chassis. Let's fire up a couple more cameras, take some measurements, and then get on with some fabricating. So what we're doing right now is I have some material selected for this mount. The main mount is going to be made out of this 1.5 by 3 by 120 wall tubing. What I'm going to do is align the back side of the tube with the back side of the XKE engine mount, center it under the engine mount, and then weld a plate across the top that has the 2 bolt holes in it, so I have access to the fasteners on the bottom. And then this will get welded to the, obviously will get welded to the cross member, and then I'm going to gusset it, probably a tube gusset from the middle of that down to here, so that it will be extra strong. I got to measure the distance of the tube, or rather I got to measure the distance from the XKE engine isolator to the cross member. Let's see how long this tube needs to be. And that, my friends, is, oh, look at that, will you? It's 3.27 inches. Let's go get the design notebook and write that down. So the material is going to be 1.5 by 3 by 0.12, whoops, 120 wall, rectangular, RACT, and the length, 3.27 total. So we're going to put a 1/8 inch plate, so 3.270 minus 0.125, yeah, boom, 6, 10 minus 5 is 5, 6 minus 2 is 4, 2 minus 1 is 1, 3.145, okay. We'll round our to 3.15 because that'll just make life easy for me. Good, okay. So let's chop a couple pieces of tube, shall we? looks about right. Yes, it does. My calibrated eyeball says that there's 1/8 of an inch. We need a piece of 1/8 inch plate that will be 3.55 long. Cool. Okay, the tube's 3.15. Let's see, top plate. 3 by 3.55. Here we have our 3. Bump. And then it's going to be 3.55. Let's go mark a couple pieces and chop these off too. All right, so here we've got the post that I cut to the correct height, 3.15 inches height. Here we have our 3 by 3.55 plate. And what I'm going to do now is weld the plate onto the tube. To get it centered, I marked a center line on the tube on both sides. It's a little hard to see, but there's a center line right there as well. And then marked a center line down the plate, aligned all 3 of those, got one of my small welding magnets, and then just another random magnet on the other side. I think that this will be a good opportunity for me to practice some TIG welding. So yeah, let's fire up the TIG welder, and it doesn't make sparks fly, but it is a whole lot of fun to use. See if I can keep from getting the tungsten into the weld pool again. Okay, we're eyeballing the center line of those holes, and I want to say that that's 1 1/8. Cool. So we will make it 1 3/16. One 3/16 right there. Yep. And then 1 3/16 right here. 1 3/16 right there. And then, oh, this one actually is sort of square. There we go. The isolator holes are on 3-inch centers. There's 3 inches, measuring to the outside edge of each hole. Let's check that against the 3-inch centers. And the holes are 340, 0.34, which is probably 0.343, because that is a fractional size. Yeah, 343. Okay. So if they're on 3-inch centers, what I can do is from this center line right here, I can go 1.5. There's that. Then also that. Three clicks, because we like that. Also 3 clicks, because we like that. And we do the calibrated eyeball test. Passes the calibrated eyeball test. Oh yeah. Next. Yep, that looks good. And then we're doing the old measure twice, cut not more than twice. I am going to do my best Alan Milliard impression right now. Tough one to start, so we'll do this first. All things considered. The metamorphosis revealed. You've changed me, says the steel. That's in a song that I wrote. Okay. Down onto the cold, cold concrete with you. Next. There we go. Boom. A significant milestone has been achieved. No more wooden blocks under the engine. It is now sitting on the engine mount pedestals. As you can see, they're not welded in yet, but the engine is now in the chassis on its mounts. Let's fire up the welder and tack those things in there. There we go. Ooh, we're down in the murky depths. Hello. Oi, potatoes. Whose idea was this? Well, the front side of this is welded. Let's weld the back side. Why not? What could possibly go wrong? Cool, man. Well, this motor mount is welded in. Let's go do the other side. Well, at least that much of the other side. Today we got another significant milestone. You saw that I had taken the wood block out, and I did actually weld the engine mount, the parts that I'm calling now the engine mount pedestals, in on three sides. And there's the driver's side right there. Nicely welded. It's still a little warm. The engine has to come out again for the second time so that I can weld on the inside. Weld on the insides. Ooh, that's hot. Weld on the insides. And then make the gusset that's going to go from the back of the mount down to here. And then the engine will go back in for the third time so that I can figure some stuff out. The episode won't be done until I've taken the engine out and fixed and done the finish welding and then put the engine back in. So And then I'll talk some more about what I'm talking about right now. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Yep, there we go. Oops. In the interest of full disclosure, here I am pulling the engine out again for the third time. You didn't see me put it back in. You did see me take it out for the second time. But I put it back in because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with the engine mount pedestal bracing. But I have since figured it out. You'll notice that here I have, sitting in my vise, a piece of the Jaguar XJ6 donor fender bracing that got used for creating the crush tubes in the transmission mount. But what we're going to do now is take another piece of that and make a bracing tube that's going to go from the original cross member over the new 2x3 cross member to the pedestal. It's going to be mounted at 50 degrees and it's going to be 3.9 inches long. And so I got some more work to do to get that engine out, and then we'll get on with fabricating those engine mount pedestal bracing tubes. Cool. I've got my piece of XJ6 donor fender strut here in the vise. Level this out a little bit, make life easy for myself. And that's not level. There we go, it is now. Is it? Is it actually level? There we go, good. What I'm gonna do today is cut two pieces of this so that they match the dimensions in this sketch that I've done right here. There are two different angles that need to get cut, a 50-degree angle and a 40-degree angle. And having done those kinds of separately cut miters before on round tubing, one of the things that's hard to do is to make sure that both of those cuts are aligned to the same axis that would go between the plane of each cut. Like here's the 40-degree cut, here's the 50-degree cut. It's really easy, if you're trying to just eyeball the cut to be vertical, it's really easy to get that wrong. And so you wind up with two cuts that aren't exactly planar. They're like twisted from one another. But there is a methodology by which you can alleviate that problem. And so what you do is you take your combination square, little combo square, and then here I have a level. And you saw me level this out. And so what I'm going to do is take my level, make sure that the bubble's in the level, and then scrape the ruler carefully along the side of the tube, like so. Keeping that bubble in between its alignment marks. And when I do that, when I do it that way, I wind up with a scribed line on the side of the tube. So I set it in the chop saw, I cut 1 to 40 degrees, put it back in the chop saw, and I can measure this against the backing plate for the clamp. So I've scribed my line. Let's go set the chop saw to 40 degrees and cut ourselves a couple pieces of tubing. You can see that right there, there's my line that I scribed a moment ago. And so I happen to know that this piece of tubing is 3/4 of an inch wide. So what I want to do is set that line to 3/8 of an inch, tighten the clamp, and then plug in the chop saw and cut it off. And there they are. The engine mount pedestal tube braces, cut to length and cut to angle at 50 degrees and 40 degrees. Uno, dos. Cool. Let's go fire up the welder. Okay, so here we are. Hello, everyone. Let's see, bring this guy underneath for like so. We'll do this one first. We're going to press it into place and tack it. At the top. Yep, this one's a little crooked. Don't care! Off we go. Yep. Hey, you. I pronounced those welded in. I pronounced the pedestals braced. Yay, successfully. They need to be wire brushed, they need to be painted, but everything is looking good. Oh well, let's climb out of here, shut things off, and then, like I said, put the engine back in. This will be number 4. Oh, I'm getting close to that 5, aren't I? There we go. So, the engine, my friends, is bolted right in. There you see the pedestal mount, the XKE isolator, the modified XJ6 engine mount bracket, and the infamous and ever wonderful bracing tube. So I pronounce these engine mounts complete, and as I am so fond of saying, that engine ain't going anywhere. And so now I'm going to move on to the next part of the project, and the next part of the project is the transmission tunnel. There is, as you can see, a structural void from the drive shaft tunnel all the way up to the firewall, and that's what needs to get completed now. And that's going to take a bit of thinking and a bit of fabrication and a bit of scratching my head and sketching in the notebook. But you're going to get to see all of that here, even the boring parts. So anyway, the engine's in, the transmission mount is done, the engine mounts are done. I hope you enjoyed this little adventure. And as I am so fond of saying, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you around the channel. Oh, wait. Are there boogers hanging out of my nose?
2.
Again?
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, my daddy, he raced stock cars a long, long time ago at New England's fastest quarter mile, doing on Westboro Road. He and Mom would rally around in their MGTD, but they bought a Porsche 356 to you, my mom and me. I was raised by gearheads, this apple fell not far from under Daddy's tillage, messing around with cars.